Hi there, my name is Tyler Woodall. I am an independent agency owner based in South Carolina, and in this video I'm going to show you the exact process I used to completely automate my agency. I have got team members that are helping run every step of the process, and I'm going to break down everything. Now, fair warning, the video is a little bit long, so if you want, in the bottom corner you can speed it up, maybe watch it on 1.25 or 1.5 speed. That way you can get through everything. But I'm going to go in depth on everything you need to do step by step, and I'm going to give examples of how to automate your insurance agency and get back your time so that you're spending less than 10 hours per week running your agency. So if you have any questions, reach out. Without further ado, let's get into the video. Like I mentioned, my name's Tyler. In this video, we're going to get into how I started and grew my independent insurance agency. So as you can see here, we went from 0 to 7 figures a year in under 2 years without me having to run quotes, handle customer service tasks, and with less than 10 hours per week of my time. And so we've got just a quick screenshot. This was 1 month in my agency. Basically, we did about $156,000 in premium. Once you can build up a system and you can outsource and scale pieces of the business, it can grow pretty rapidly and become pretty successful. So in this document, I'm going to show you the exact frameworks that I use. We're going to cover everything step by step. My goal is that at the end, you can use what you learned here, you can review this video, and you can make changes in your agency immediately. So if you've not already, get off TikTok, close all the tabs on your computer, check in. We're not going to be that long, but I really do think this is going to be impactful for you, for your business, and for the rest of your life. So if you plan on scaling your business quickly, removing yourself from operations, let's get into it. So here's a quick picture of me. Basically, I went and spent a couple weeks in Europe for a little while, about a month and a half ago. And really, I ran my agency on less than 30 minutes a day. Other than just a couple of times, I had some middle market accounts that were renewing, and I would pull out my laptop. But again, for less than 30 minutes a day, I ran my whole agency while I was a quarter of the way around the world. So pretty crazy opportunity and a wild life that I get to live now that I put in a lot of time on the front end. So like I said, this case study is going to cover everything. It's not easy. It's a lot of work, but if you're willing to put in the work, this is absolutely going to change your life. So before we get into it, who is this for? So if you're looking to automate your insurance agency to the point where you're not working on day-to-day tasks, then this is for you. If you've got a team of producers or CSRs who are bogged down in constant customer service requests, again, this is for you. If your agency has tons of renewals that have to be reshopped, then this is for you. If you're overwhelmed with quoting, customer service, etc., and in the awkward balance of too busy and you don't have enough time to handle everything, but not busy enough to keep somebody full-time, this is for you. And then if you need support but you can't quite afford somebody, again, this is for you. So who is this not for? So if you do not want to put in the work for the next 30 days, that's what I think it's going to take for you to get everything finished. If you're not willing to put in the work for the next 30 days to train somebody to help with your agency, to build out the processes, etc., then this is not for you. This does not happen overnight. It is not easy. It may be simple, and this document will simplify it, but it's not easy. If you don't care about giving superior customer service to your clients and you just want to write business however you can, this is not for you. $160,000 months. With that comes top-notch customer service, and you have to be able to do that to keep everything. If that's not what you're looking for, this is not for you. If you want quick cash and not to run a proper business, this is not for you. Check out. If you aren't looking to build a lifestyle agency that eventually runs without you, not for you. And then finally, if you enjoy working 12 hours per day in the office, managing a busy schedule, this is not for you. I want to be able to teach you how to get your business to the point where you're working just a couple hours a day and the agency runs for you and not through you. So let's get into it. Let's talk about what it takes to scale your agency. So you can absolutely hit 100,000 plus per month in new business without a massive team, without an army of CSRs. You just got to do some automation on the front end. Most agents aren't able to do this because they don't fundamentally understand how to identify the bottlenecks in their agency, and then they're not good at creating systems to teach their team members how to handle all the tasks that come up. Because really, somebody has to be doing things at some point. And so we got to have a system to get these things done every single time. And then they also don't understand how to build the system to automate the back-end operation. There's a lot of things that technology can do for you and remove humans from the equation. But if you're watching this, you're already on the right track. You kind of know that you need to do something different. So hopefully I can add a little value to what you're doing. So a limiting belief that a lot of agents have is they think that business can't be done any easier than what it is right now. They think that they are special, only they can do what they do, and nobody else can do it better. I promise you that is not the case. My team is so much better at so many things in my agency than I am, and I am so thankful that they are because it gives me freedom. So basically, in this breakdown, we're going to cover how to navigate the issues that I mentioned above, how I'm able to consistently bring on team members without me spending any time on training. We're going to talk about how I built a small army of virtual assistants who handle everything, all my new quotes, reshopping, renewals, all my basic customer service tasks. Not mentioned on here, but basically they're making sure that my downloads are going properly in my AMS. They're entering documents into my AMS and my CRM. They're keeping everything up to date, keeping me safe on the E&O side of things, handling communication with my team, lots of stuff. And then I'm going to show you how to do all this without paying massive fees to recruiters, spending tons of hours on training, and without high overhead costs on payroll. So like I said, my name's Tyler. I'm a fellow agency owner. I'm based in the Carolinas. I started an independent agency during COVID. Before that, I had been focused on commercial insurance. The way I built my book of business was doing drop-ins. I went through the State Auto Pacesetter program, and so I was going after light manufacturing and construction accounts. I would go door to door dropping in businesses, and that's how I built my book of business, getting X dates, following up, etc. Then when the world shut down, I couldn't do that anymore. So I had to pivot and change what we were doing. And my solution was to go heavy in personal lines. I could bring in the business on Facebook or on social media. I could quote it quickly. And I was getting small daily singles. I was hitting singles, getting small daily wins, slowly building up the book. It wasn't the big chunks, but I was winning every single day. What I didn't realize is more business coming in meant more quotes that I had to run. The more people I wrote meant more customer service I had to do. And so this put me into a hamster wheel. The more success I had, the more I had to work. And that's not necessarily the goal. So it led me to an issue that a lot of business owners, not just insurance agents, face. And I was starting to feel burnout. I was not enjoying what I was doing. I was not happy. And so one day I was having lunch with a friend of mine, and he was telling me about his Amazon/Walmart drop shipping store that he had. He had a team of virtual assistants that were running a lot of the things for him. And we talked about how he had brought them on, how little he was paying, and how they were the most incredible workers he'd ever had. So I said, for that, I could probably hire somebody and have them do something. So I did. I found a virtual assistant. I had him start running my social media. He would curate content, he would post it, he would handle the comments, he would engage with other people. We would go into Facebook groups and bring in quotes. He was doing a lot of things that really helped me, and it took a lot off of my plate, but there were still a lot of issues still in the agency. And really, finally, one day I said, I'm having so much success here, let me just try a VA and see what happens. And because really, a virtual assistant is no different than just a remote employee. I could train anybody to do the task, so why not try with a VA first? So I kept a notepad next to my desk, and I wrote down every single task I was doing during the day throughout a few weeks. And so at the end, I had this long list of stuff, and I used a highlighter, and I would highlight and group things together. And once I did, I started to find common pieces. I was spending most of my time running quotes, answering customer service requests, trying to handle my emails. Most of this stuff is non-revenue generating. Now, obviously, you got to run a quote to be able to get a policy sold, but somebody else can do that because really it's just data entry. So that's where I started. I typed out step by step how to do these tasks that I was working on. First was quotes, and then I recorded a video showing how to do it. So in my agency, we're very homeowners heavy. I've networked with a lot of lenders through social media. So I get a lot of 1003 forms coming in, people requesting to get homeowners policies. And so I recorded several videos. Here's how to read a 1003. Here's how to gather the information you need. Here's how to enter it into my quoting form, which I'll talk about later. And then here's how to quote it in Travelers, Safeco, Progressive, etc. And so by the end of it, I was able to teach somebody how to do all the different steps. And then you run into some issues, figured out, houses look a lot different in the Philippines. They don't know what our houses look like in the US. So I had to record trainings on how to identify the type of roof, how to identify the type of siding, foundation, where to go online is in like Zillow and stuff like that to pull square footage. So at the end, I had a smooth process where I brought somebody in and had them handle all of my homeowners' quotes. And about 2 weeks into this process, my virtual assistant handling it, her name was Jane, and Jane's still with us. She was able to do all of this stuff just as quickly as I was. And so basically, this cut down massively on my quote turnaround time. I was able to get stuff done a lot faster. Jane would finish the quotes, I would verify the best one, and I would send it over to the lender. And so we were going extremely quickly, and it saved me time. So I was working less and closing more. So this was a proof of concept that this worked. So I took what I did for homeowners, and I did the same thing for auto and DP3s. I work with a lot of real estate investors. Again, met a lot of them in these Facebook groups. So once I handed off those tasks, more of the quotes were being done by a virtual assistant. Really, I didn't have to do any of those. I would do some commercial because I am still commercial heavy. We're about 60-40. So I would still handle those, but all of my personal line stuff was being done. I had a standardized way for everything to come into the agency. It was a lot smoother. So then I started looking at how to make this even better. So what I use is WordPress forms just because I built my website on WordPress. So I made these quoting forms that had conditional logic. So basically you would enter name, email, phone number, address, etc. And then what do you need a quote on? And you can click home, auto, etc. Based on what you answer, it'll change the next page. And so if somebody said homeowner's quote, there's a different set of questions that come up than if they needed auto. And then if they are needing a rental policy, again, a different set of questions. So I talk about it here in this example. Basically, if somebody said that they needed a renter's policy for their rental property, it's going to ask them a different set of questions. What's the end use of this property? Is it a short-term rental? Is it long-term rental? Is it a fix and flip, etc.? So, for example, a lot of carriers don't like short-term rentals. Travelers has an endorsement for Airbnb and stuff like that, but some carriers don't. So that would determine where I needed to quote it. Or if it's a fix and flip, okay, well, this may be a builder's risk policy. It may end up transitioning to a vacant policy, but this tells me what questions I need to ask. And so once this form was done completely and the data was always coming in the same way into my agency, I could build training around that. So I taught my VA, hey, when the answers are this, you're going to quote it as this. So if it's a fix and flip and somebody's renovating it right now and they tell you how much money they're putting into it, okay, you're going to quote this as a builder's risk policy and here's the carriers you go to. So it just made everything smoother and smoother as we continued. So now I've not ran a personal lines quote in a few years, and it has been a really smooth process for me. So next I went to the customer service tasks I had to handle. I don't have one on my desk, but the pesky letters you get in the mail all the time for mortgagee changes, basically I just scan those and forward it to my VA. She takes the information, enters it into our service request form, which puts it in our CRM. She handles it. But again, same process. I typed out how to do it, recorded a Loom video showing it, and then the VAs handled it from there. And so we did the same thing with sending ID cards, making driver changes, sending certificates of insurance. So now at this point, all of the quotes in my agency and roughly 80% of the customer service tasks were being handled by a virtual assistant. All I had to do is sometimes gather the information or send them the form to fill out, and then I had to present the quote. So I cut my workload by 70% probably. Like I said, a lot of my book is commercial, so I get a lot of referrals from small business owners. So I started recording videos on how to quote simple bops, started recording videos on how to complete accord forms, etc. This is definitely the hardest piece of the process. If you're going about doing this, the accord forms is a headache because most people hate accord forms. And so teaching somebody how to do something that's a little more complex is kind of a pain. But basically, once I got all this stuff done, I started telling friends in the industry what I was doing and started helping them do the same thing. And they said, you're really onto something. A lot of people need what you're doing. Would you help us? And so never had any intentions of starting this to go out and do it for others. It was something I built for myself, but we've had tons of success teaching other people how to do the same thing. And so it's been a lot of fun and very encouraging there. So again, use this framework because I promise it works. We've used it with a ton of agents so far. So the first thing you got to think about is your insurance agency is like a computer. So I'm not saying this to say that it's super complex or anything. It's just computers, basically they're programmed to handle a certain set of tasks the same way every time. So if you put in an input, it's going to do its process and then spit out an output. And it's going to be the same thing every time. And so your agency is the same way. You only have a certain amount of things you have to do in your agency. So if you work backwards and you know what you're trying to get to, you can back into, all right, what are the pieces that have to be handled along the way to make sure that this gets done correctly every single time? And so that's what I was able to do in my agency. And really, in your insurance agency, you got to find a way to bring in clients or prospects. You have to educate those prospects. You have to offer them solutions and then offer ongoing support to anybody that ends up working with you. Nothing too crazy. The agency that does this the best will bring in the most business. They will keep and retain the most clients, and they're going to be the most profitable long term. So basically, right here, I drilled down all the key pieces of an agency. So you got to do lead generation. You got to generate people who are interested in letting you quote their insurance. And then once you have those leads, you have to quote those people. So you got to take that information, enter it into the carriers, and get quotes. Then you have to present those quotes to people and get them to agree to go with that policy and fire their current provider. Then you have to onboard them into your agency. We call this making Build-A-Bear clients because we are priming the future interactions and building our ideal clients. I'll tell you more about that later. And then we've got ongoing customer service. So basically, you've got to handle all the customer service requests that come in during that policy period. So all of that above, you can drill it down into three main parts: marketing, sales, and service. So let's dive deep into each of those. So for lead generation, there's a lot of ways you can do this. The purpose of this video is not to tell you how to bring in 1,000 leads a month. If you have any questions, here's my website right here, winwithc4.com. Fill out a form there and contact us. I can get on a call with you, or somebody on my team can teach you some of the stuff that we do. But basically, you can cold call internet leads. You can pound referrals and bring them donuts. You can ask friends and family for referrals, run giveaways on social media, tons of different ways to bring in business. Again, you can find all the favorite ways you want to do that. But in the lead generation part here, I'm going to talk about one of the pieces that everybody overlooks, and that is clean data. So you've got to start with the end in mind. So once you find a way to bring in those leads, you're probably going to be prospecting the same way every time. So you know what type of data you need to get a quote. So go ahead and build out your stuff to match that. So for example, in a car insurance quote, you know that you're going to need name, date of birth, address, driver's license number, the state that the license is in. And then for the vehicle, you're going to need year, make, model, VIN number. And then you need that same information for any drivers that are going to be on the policy. If you already know these things, go ahead and ask for them up front. Once you have that information, you can run quotes, you can pull reports, whatever you need to do, and you can begin an educated conversation with the client. You can talk about coverage gaps and what they're missing, but this is how you get started. So basically, I just build out a uniform way to do this every single time inside of my agency. Like I said earlier, I use WordPress forms. I built out my website on WordPress. You can do the same thing with Google Forms, Jot Forms, etc. I like Jot Forms. If you're not built out on WordPress, I think that's a really good option. I think it's like maybe $30 or $40 a month for the pro version of Jot Forms, and that's more than enough to be able to handle most of the things that you need to do. So anytime somebody gave me their info to quote, I would input the information, or my virtual assistant would put it all in onto the same form every single time. So the data is always coming in the same way in my agency. So really the way that I went about doing this is I built out a form. I had sat down on a sheet of paper and I planned out the questions I needed and then built it out. That let me make all of the conditional logic that I wanted. Then I created a pipeline inside of my CRM. I use Agency Zoom, highly recommend it if you don't have one. And then I connected my form to Agency Zoom via Zapier. I had a Zap that would pull all of the information. Anytime the form was filled out, it would create a lead inside of Agency Zoom in that pipeline. And then it would fill in all of the information into the different fields. And then anything else, it put it in the notes section. And it would come into my new section or my new stage of the pipeline. It would send an email to my virtual assistant to go check it, and she would get started on the quotes. And I can talk more about some of the automation later. But basically having a clean data intake system allowed me to make sure that everything always came in the right way. And it's 100% necessary going forward because you got to have your automation firing correctly every single time so that your agency can operate as efficiently as possible. So then with quotes, think about how much time you are wasting in all of your different carriers. Now, hear me out. So I started with a rater, and basically I had a virtual assistant that would enter the information into the comparative rater, and then they would go into each individual carrier to pull reports. That was a lot of time lost. And before, it was even worse when it was just me doing everything. So I was spending at least 30 minutes to an hour per household. And so that's a ton of time out of my schedule. So when I hired a virtual assistant to do this, I saved time and I pay them a lot less than what my hourly rate is. And so this is money back in my pocket. The virtual assistant could do the same quote every single time. Because all the data was uniform and it's the same information we enter every time, it's just copy and paste. It's super simple. And so that's the only way you can scale and grow long term. So basically I had to build out clean data intake systems, and then I had to have training on a few things. How to quote in all the different carrier sites. So how to quote a home in Travelers, how to quote a car in Progressive, how to quote a rental property in Foremost, etc. And then I had to make coverage standards. So for example, in my agency, we don't do any less than 100, 300, 100 limits on car insurance. We always do 500,000 on liability on homes, etc. So state minimums in South Carolina where I'm at is 25, 50, 25. We will not do this. We educate our clients on why they need more coverage. And so I had to teach my virtual assistant, hey, no matter what coverage they currently have, here's how we quote it. And then I had to teach on how the data all flows together, how the quotes go into the CRM and the AMS. So my virtual assistant would finish the quotes. They would upload it into the opportunity tab in Agency Zoom, and then they would move the quote from quoting to quoted, which sent an automated email to the producer to go check out the quote and present it to the client. So let's say that you are currently doing 50,000 per month. In South Carolina, that's basically 10 households. Average household is just shy of about $5,000. Say you got a home and 2 autos. And let's say you're closing about a third of all those people, which is pretty strong. But again, we want to be conservative. So that means you're closing 30 households you're quoting 30 households every month. So that is at least 30 hours of work you are spending just running quotes. And again, running quotes is data entry. It is copy and paste. As long as your data is correct, somebody else can do this very easily. Anybody could go run a home insurance quote. So let's go back to the scenario and let's say your team is running quotes. So if you do a quick Google search, it will say that the average CSR in the US makes just shy of $39,000 a year, which comes out to $1,865 an hour. And this is assuming that your CSR is the one doing quotes. You better not have an agent doing this and wasting their time because they need to be out prospecting. Off my soapbox. Okay, so that means you are spending roughly $1,500 per month just to have quotes finished regardless of if you close them or not. And that comes out to just shy of $18,000 per year. So I'm going to show you how you can cut those expenses by more than 50%. Basically, you're going to be spending about 30 to 40% of that number by just teaching a VA and having them handle everything. So ultimately, you're going to save over 20 grand just if you copy what I have done in this document. We've outlined a lot of it, and we're going to continue to do it as we go down. So that extra cash flow, you can spend it on buying more leads. You can spend it entertaining your prospects. You can spend it at Disney World with your family, whatever you want to do. But my secret sauce has been virtual assistants. Each of my VAs, I bring them in. I teach them on my standard operating procedures. They watch all my videos. They take quizzes at the end. And I know that they know how to do my tasks the right way every time. What I have found is these virtual assistants a lot of times are even better than a local employee. They care a lot more. They are very detail oriented. They work really hard. They educate themselves in their off hours so that when they come in and are working in my agency, they're doing an incredible job. So I could not recommend a virtual assistant anymore. It takes time to bring in a team member, but once you put in the time on the front end, making smooth processes, you're going to fix a lot of your bottlenecks and the issues you're going to have. And the virtual assistants, they're a fraction of the cost. So it's a sunk cost anyways. You got to train somebody. Do it for 40% of the other employees' cost. So then we get to the presenting and quoting step of all of this. And basically, insurance agents have screwed up for a lot of years. It is a race to the bottom line, and people are massively missing the mark. Now, I will say this is something that captive agents do a lot better than independent agents because they don't have all the options. Independents are like, I can quote everybody. Let me show you how much money I can save you. When in actuality, that's not what it's all about. Obviously, price does matter, but if you commoditize your product, you're going to be in trouble. So I learned this from a mentor of mine. We call it the Swiss cheese delivery system. So basically, insurance agents, we all get pissed that customers, all they care about is the price. They don't look at the coverages. They don't look at their limits. They just go to the bottom of the page. How much am I paying? All right, so when you were in school, how many classes did you take on how to buy insurance? I know that when I was in school, there were none. So that means that you learned how to buy insurance by buying insurance. Who taught you how to do that? An insurance agent. So we, insurance agents, are screwing up. We are teaching other consumers how to buy insurance the wrong way. We are the ones focusing on price. So just change it. If you don't play that game, you're not competing with people on the same field, and you've got the opportunity to win. So don't play that game. So what we do is we take a look at their policy, and we're going to go in depth with them. We record a Loom video presenting it, and we also do it over the phone, and we're going to show them how their current coverage or service has more holes in it than Swiss cheese. That's where the name comes from. So basically, most policies that you're going to get in are going to have issues. There's going to be something that's missing. And if you educate your clients and explain, hey, here's what this coverage actually is, and here's an example of how it could go really bad if you're not covered, do you want that to happen to you? No. Well, okay. Well, if we add water backup coverage, it's $40 per year to add at least 10 grand in coverage. Is that worth it for you? Yes. Okay. Well, you built $40 of margin in. Now let's just go through all the other stuff that they're missing. And you're going to explain why your policy is more expensive, but why it's so much more valuable. So really, the way that you need to think about it, are you worth more than 10% more than your competition? I know that I am. I know that the service I provide is definitely worth at least 10% more than what everybody else is doing. So you either got to increase your confidence in yourself, or you've got to increase the value that you're providing to your clients. Just refuse to be like the other agents. Give better service, don't sell on price, and watch your closing rates go up. I promise you. So when I started asking more questions to clients about, hey, do you know if this is covered on your current policy? Well, actually, it's not covered. Here's what this is. Does that scare you? Yes. Okay, well, if I could cover that for an extra $60 per year, is that worth it? Yes. Okay, cool. Well, I'll make sure that we cover that on our policy when we get you rewritten. Assume the close. You're the one that's taking care of them. By the end of it, they're going to be so pissed at their agent that they have had their pants down for all these years that they're going to be dying and begging to come work with you. And so that's how we have been able to have a lot of success. I spend a lot more time with my customers and I have a ton more success. I can spend more time because I'm not spending my time running quotes and handling customer service tasks. You need to free up your producers to actually spend time building relationships. All right, so the next thing that we do is we onboard and streamline and prime all of our future interactions really well. So good and bad thing about insurance, it is full of C players. Everybody is doing this minimum status quo, everything they need to do to get by, but nothing extraordinary. And this is a massive opportunity because it does not take much for you to move the needle and show how much different you are than all of the other agents. Your first opportunity to do this obviously is when you're presenting quotes to a client, but your first chance to do it with a client is your onboarding process. And you want to show how you're different than everybody else. So what I did in my agency is I outlined what I wanted everything to look like. I sat down on a notepad and wrote out, hey, I want everybody to get a welcome email. I want to educate them on how to get the service done correctly in our agency. I want them to get 1 to 2 check-ins during their policy period. And then I want to go ahead and prime the renewal conversations. That's 4 or 5 emails that you need to send. It's not that hard. Just plan out what you want it to look like, type it out one time, plug it into your automation system. Agency Zoom does this, and then it is done forever. You went the extra mile up front, and you're going to have something set up that your competition has never even considered, and you're miles down the road ahead of them. Your customer is going to think you're so on top of the ball and you work all the time, when in actuality, you might be sitting on the beach, but your CRM's still sending emails. So like I said, I do all this through Agency Zoom. And basically, anytime I move somebody to the closed tab, it adds them to our onboarding sequence and starts sending out all of these emails. So one day after the purchase, they're going to get an email from me. And it's basically me saying, thank you so much for choosing to work with our agency. Obviously, things are going to come up. That's why you bought insurance. If you ever need anything, the fastest way is fill out this service request form. It's going to tag it in our agency, and we're going to have it handled within 2 hours. If you do need to talk to somebody, here's our phone number. Here's our company email. Feel free to reach out however is easiest to you. But I call this making Build-A-Bear clients, because a lot of times you're going to be pissed off when clients are calling all hours of the day, sending texts, sending emails, etc., when you never told them how to reach out. So just like going to the mall and making your Build-A-Bear exactly how you wanted it, I'm teaching my clients to be the exact clients that I want to service. So when they fill out my customer service form, again, clean data in. It goes into my service pipeline the same way every time. It tags my team. They know exactly what to do. They can bust it out extremely quickly, and it saves us all the time of having to be on the phones, going back and forth, etc. It asks all the questions the right way every time. Nothing ever gets missed. So again, customers are crazy. People are people. You're still going to get 3 a.m. phone calls. I literally got one just a couple of days ago, and it was a client that had totaled her car. She kept calling me all night. When I woke up at 6 a.m., I spoke with her, got the claim filed, got everything situated. You're never going to completely end that, especially if at any one point you have given out your cell phone to your customers. It just happens. But you can massively cut down on that if you just prime everything. Another benefit of automation is 1 week after the sale, I have an automated email that goes out asking for Google reviews and referrals. Most people never even ask for referrals. I make sure at least once it's getting done by automation. Now, I have other steps in my process where I'm asking for them over the phone or in person. But no matter what, even if I forget that, even if I don't do the other tasks, my CRM's doing it for me. So just think about all the different interactions you're likely to have in your agency. For example, you know that somebody's going to renew 6 or 12 months after they write a policy. Go ahead and set that up. So in my agency, I have got texts going out 60 days before their renewal. This is for a personal lines example. So we ask the people to fill out our renewal form, and basically the text message says, hey, thank you so much for choosing to do business with our agency. We're coming up on your renewal. We're a couple months out. We're working on everything right now. If you get a chance, fill out this form, and it'll help us make sure everything's smooth and done as quick as possible. It's going to ask them any recent changes, if they've purchased any vehicles, if they've made improvements on their home, etc. These are potential cross-selling opportunities. It's also CYA on your E&O. It's making sure that you're covering everything you can. And it makes sure that we're getting the coverage right. I mean, that's extremely important. And it's saving us time on the phone. If somebody can fill out this form, I don't have to get on the phone for 30 minutes to an hour. That's so much more productive. Now, obviously, you still need to get on the phone with your clients and talk to them, keep the relationship, etc. And we're still going to chat with them whenever we present the renewal, but this is going to cut down on a lot of time. And again, that time is time that you can spend educating more clients and growing your agency. The more that you can plan for what is going to happen in your agency, the more you look like an expert. People like dealing with experts because they have experience and they've been there before. You can see problems before they arrive and go ahead and fix them. And I promise when this process starts to crank and starts to work, it really does work. I get emails like this every single day. Good morning, Tyler. So-and-so recommended I reach out to you. I have 2 martial arts gyms, yada, yada, yada. Can you do my insurance? Every single day. We get these on personal lines and commercial clients. 2 martial arts gyms. I don't know if you do much of that. These were 2 Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu academies. We placed them with K&K. They weren't that big, but this guy, he's got 2 gyms, he's got a home, he's got a few cars, some collector's cars. It ends up rounding out to a nice account. When you've got a process dialed in and you are on point when you're educating clients, you're going to look like the professionals. And the thing is clients are going to feel special, and then they're going to share this with their friends because people feel like they're getting clout whenever somebody else is recognizing them as having something cool. Most agents are C players, so you're going to kick the teeth out of everybody else's mouth when you're just showing how you go the extra mile, and these people are going to want to refer you to all of their friends. All right, so next, again, the reason you get paid renewals is because of customer service. You do have to do work during the policy. It's not all sunshines and rainbows. But again, you're an expert and you see these problems before they happen and you've got a plan. So what you need to do is you need to outline what are the most common customer service tasks that come up. I can go ahead and give you some. You're going to have claims. You're going to have renewals, I think, fall in there, mortgagee changes, ID cards, billing questions, etc. So make a process for all these things. When somebody has a question, you have your customer service request form, no matter what. If they call in, email, text, etc. You take that information, you fill it out on the form. That documents it in your CRM. Good data in means good data out. It doesn't just end with quotes. And so we do this the same way every time. I use Service Center inside Agency Zoom. It's a little bit more to upgrade to the Service Center, but I think it's super worth it. And I have a service pipeline. This allows me to track how long it takes for all of our customer service requests to get handled. It gives me a good finger on the pulse in my agency to know how well we're taking care of our customers and how quickly we're getting back to them. And kind of like I mentioned, the first places I would start: mortgagee changes, certificates of insurance, sending ID cards, sending deck pages, adding and removing drivers and vehicles, handling claims. And with claims, I've got automation set up too. So when something is tagged as having a claim, and I just have that in my conditional logic in my form, it will send automated text messages. Basically, a day or 2 later, it's asking them, hey, has the adjuster reached out? A few days after that, hey, how's everything going? Have you heard back? Is there anything you need? A few days later, hey, how's the claim process going? Do you need me to get involved with anything? They're going to think you're thinking about them all the time. You may be on the beach. It's just your CRM is doing everything for you. And then we've got miscellaneous endorsements. A lot of times this may just be reaching out to an underwriter, but again, we have a process for it. So that's how I automated my agency and killed so much of what I was having to spend my time on. So you've got an idea of what is working and what's going on. If this is something that's interesting and you want to know more about this process, I've got an offer for you. So if you're an insurance agency owner or an aspiring agency owner and you're looking to grow, or if you're a producer who's not satisfied with your current results and how you're spending your time, or if you're just an agency owner who's burnt out and can't keep on doing things the way that you've been doing them, and you're currently doing at least $30,000 a month in new business, and you want to scale your agency in monthly new business as well as smooth out your current processes for servicing clients, and you want a way to effectively turn your agency into an engine that just runs, a computer where all the processes are handled and runs largely without you, without spending tons of money, then you've come to the right place. So if you're interested, I will install my agency automated blueprint into your agency. We're going to replicate the exact same process that we did in my agency inside of your agency. And we're going to do it in less than half the time. I am extremely confident that within the next 30 days, we're going to add at least 20 hours per week back in your schedule, or you don't pay. I know that this thing works because we've done it so many times now, and it worked wonders for myself. So if you want to see similar results to what I had, if you want the same systems installed, click the link below. There's going to be a link to book a time to chat with myself or my team. We can hop on a call. Even if we're not a good fit to work together, we will explain strategies that we think would work for you. Because again, some agencies are unique. You may be more commercial focused and you may be a specialty agency. We'll talk about what we think would work for you. So worst case scenario, you get something of value. Best case scenario, we should be able to save you at least 20 hours per week. So I look forward to getting a chat. If you have any questions, let me know. Hope you have a great day. Thanks. Hey y'all, thank you so much for watching this video. If you found it helpful and if you want to start the process of automating your insurance agency and getting back 20 to 40 hours per week of your time, click the link below, book a time to chat with myself or my team. Other than that, I look forward to chatting with you, and I'll see you in the next one.